Welcome to the world of science function. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The cavernous expanse of the diplomatic chamber shimmered with otherworldly light. Here, beneath the translucent ceiling that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, humanity's representatives met their alien counterparts. The air buzzed faintly with a sound that wasn't quite noise but more a feeling, an ambient resonance that unsettled even the most seasoned diplomats. Standing at the head of the human delegation, Captain Lily Marrow adjusted her uniform and plastered on a neutral smile that masked her unease. The Zalrith delegation was nothing like the serene and diplomatic beings humans had hoped for. Towering, insectoid creatures with chitinous shells glistening under the ethereal light, they clicked and chattered in their own language. Their leader, identified as Overseer K.L. Karn, stood taller than the others, his 6 limbs moving in a mesmerizing rhythm. Despite their alien appearance, it wasn't their physical form that unnerved Lily the most, it was the Zalrith reputation. "Captain Marrow," whispered Dr. Ethan Park, the cultural linguist assigned to the mission. "Their protocol of dominance exchange suggests they may test us." "Test us how?" Lily muttered out of the corner of her mouth, keeping her gaze fixed on K.L. Karn. "Well," Ethan hesitated, his voice dropping further, "if the rumors hold, they assess the value of a species through challenge. Mental, physical, emotional. Sometimes all 3. Failing such challenges, he trailed off, but his eyes spoke volumes. Lily had read the same reports. Failure wasn't just an embarrassment, it could lead to dire consequences, including humanity being labeled as unworthy of interstellar alliances. Or worse, being designated a regretful waste, the Zalrith term for species deemed unsalvageable. She suppressed a shiver and took a step forward, her boots echoing against the smooth, reflective floor. K.L. Karn's multifaceted eyes fixed on her, glimmering with an intelligence that felt invasive. A sudden silence descended, and the buzzing resonance ceased. The absence of sound was louder than the noise. "Humanity," K.L. Karn began, his voice translated through a device that rendered his guttural clicks into a deep, resonant baritone. "You seek partnership with the Zalrith Dominion. Yet words are ephemeral. Deeds define worth." Lily inclined her head, resisting the urge to glance at her team. "We understand. Humanity has faced countless challenges to reach this point. We are ready to prove our worth." K.L. Karn's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Confidence. A promising trait. Very well. Your first demonstration will determine whether your species understands regret. For regret, Captain Marrow, is a crucible that refines the weak from the worthy." Lily's stomach tightened. Regret? That wasn't a challenge, it was an emotion. How could they demonstrate? The chamber's shimmering walls shifted, melting into a swirling vortex of light and shadow. A low hum built into a crescendo, vibrating in her bones. And then, without warning, the floor beneath the human delegation disappeared. Lily's world turned upside down as she plunged into darkness. When Lily's senses returned, she found herself standing in an entirely different environment. A desolate landscape stretched before her, its sky a blend of bruised purples and sickly greens. The air was thick, oppressive, carrying a faint metallic tang. She looked around and saw her team scattered but alive, disoriented but intact. "Roll call," Lily barked, slipping into her commanding tone. One by one, her team called out, confirming their presence. Ethan was crouched a few meters away, rubbing his temples. Beside him, Lieutenant Harper, their security officer, was already scanning the area with her weapon drawn. "Where are we?" Harper demanded, her voice tight. Ethan pulled out his portable analyzer, its screen flickering with chaotic readings. "Not Earth. That much is clear. This environment is synthetic. Possibly a constructed simulation." Lily's jaw clenched. K.L. Karn said something about regret. "What does that have to do with this?" Ethan hesitated, his brow furrowing. "Regret is a deeply personal experience. If this is a test, they might be probing our worst memories. Our greatest failures. The ground trembled, cutting off further speculation. A massive structure rose from the barren terrain, its architecture alien yet eerily familiar. It resembled a colossal arena, its walls lined with shifting glyphs that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her racing heartbeat. "We're being summoned," Harper observed grimly. "Captain, orders?" Lily didn't hesitate. "We move together. Eyes sharp, stay close." As they approached the arena, the glyphs began to shimmer more intensely. A booming voice, unmistakably K.L. Karn's, resonated through the air. "Step forward, humanity. Face the crucible of your past. Show us if you have the strength to carry your regrets or if they will break you." The team exchanged uneasy glances, but Lily squared her shoulders. "We're not breaking today," she said firmly. "Let's go." Inside, the arena was vast and disorienting. The floor seemed to shift underfoot, and the walls pulsed like a living organism. At the center stood 4 towering obelisks, each one emanating a faint glow. "Captain," Ethan called, pointing at the obelisks. "I think they're attuned to us." Before Lily could respond, the first obelisk flared, and a translucent figure emerged from its surface. It was a man, middle-aged, his face lined with sorrow. Lily's breath caught as recognition hit her like a punch to the gut. "Dad," she whispered. The figure's gaze locked onto hers, and his voice, though faint, was achingly familiar. "Lily. Why didn't you save me?" Memories she had buried deep resurfaced with brutal clarity. Her father, trapped in a burning building during her first mission as a cadet. She had made the call to prioritize the civilians, leaving him behind. It had been the right decision, the only decision, but the guilt had never left her. "Captain?" Harper's voice broke through the fog, but Lily couldn't look away from the specter. "This isn't real," she said, more to herself than to her team. "You're not real." The figure's expression twisted into one of anguish. "Does that make my death any less painful? My absence any less permanent?" Lily's hands curled into fists. "No. But I've carried that pain every day since. And I'll carry it until my last breath if it means doing what's right." The figure hesitated, then nodded once before dissolving into light. The obelisk dimmed. "One down," Harper muttered, though her tone was far from relieved. The next obelisk flared, and this time it was Ethan who froze. "No," he breathed, his face pale. "Not her." A woman stepped forward, her features hauntingly familiar. She looked at Ethan with a mix of love and accusation. "Why did you let me go?" she asked, her voice trembling. Lily recognized the look in Ethan's eyes. Whatever regret the Zalrith had conjured, it was his crucible to face. She placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. "You're not alone," she said quietly. "We're here." Ethan swallowed hard and stepped forward, his voice cracking as he began to speak. The test was far from over, but together, they had taken the first steps into the unknown. And as the arena's walls pulsed with an almost eager energy, Lily knew that the true challenge was only beginning. The glowing obelisks dimmed momentarily, giving the team a brief respite, but the oppressive air within the arena thickened. Lily Marrow wiped the sweat from her brow, her mind racing. They had barely faced the first 2 manifestations, and already the mental toll was evident. Each obelisk seemed to probe the very core of their humanity, dragging forth regrets so vivid they felt more real than memories. "2 down," Harper said, her voice steely but strained. She stood at the ready, scanning the other obelisks with her weapon. "How many more of these do we have to endure?" Ethan, still visibly shaken, ran a trembling hand through his hair. "2 more, if the pattern holds. But these tests are escalating. Whatever we're supposed to learn, the Zalrith won't make it easy." Lily's gaze settled on the next obelisk, its faint glow pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. She drew a deep breath and addressed her team. "Stay sharp. Whatever this thing throws at us, remember it's not real. These are reflections of our past, not our present. And we're stronger than our regrets." Harper gave a curt nod, her grip tightening on her weapon. Ethan managed a weak smile of gratitude, but his eyes betrayed his lingering fear. The obelisk's glow intensified, and the air shimmered with heat waves. The glyphs on its surface rearranged themselves, forming shapes that seemed almost human. With a sudden, blinding flash, the figure materialized. A young man in a tattered uniform staggered forward, his face smeared with soot and blood. His wide eyes locked onto Harper, and she froze. The soldier's voice broke the silence, hoarse and trembling. "Lieutenant Harper? You said you'd come back for us." Lily immediately recognized the change in Harper's demeanor. Her usually stoic expression cracked, and her hands trembled as she lowered her weapon. "No," she whispered. "It can't be." The soldier stumbled closer, his movements jerky and unnatural, as though controlled by unseen strings. "You promised. We waited for you. But you never came." Ethan glanced nervously at Lily. "Captain, should we intervene?" Lily shook her head. "This is her test. She has to face it." Harper's breath came in shallow gasps. Memories she had buried deep clawed their way to the surface. The ambush on Kepler 9, the desperate cries over the comms, the decision to retreat to save the rest of her unit. She had told herself it was the only option, the tactical choice, but now those lost voices were given form. "I didn't have a choice," Harper said, her voice barely audible. I couldn't save everyone." The soldier's expression twisted into one of anguish. "But you could have saved us." Lily stepped forward, her voice firm but compassionate. "Harper, listen to me. This isn't him. It's your guilt speaking. Remember why you made that call. You saved dozens of lives by retreating. You made the hardest choice a leader can make." Harper's eyes welled with tears, but she didn't look away from the apparition. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry for what happened. But I won't let that regret define me. I'll carry it, but it won't break me." The soldier hesitated, his form flickering like a disrupted hologram. Slowly, his anguished expression softened, and he nodded. "Then carry it well," he said, his voice echoing strangely as his body dissolved into light. The obelisk dimmed, its glow extinguished. Harper sank to her knees, her shoulders shaking. Lily knelt beside her, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. "You did good," Lily said quietly. "We're almost through this." Harper nodded, wiping her face with a trembling hand. "Thanks, Captain. Let's finish this." The final obelisk began to glow, its light colder and sharper than the others. The air grew heavy, and a piercing sound filled the arena, setting Lily's teeth on edge. Ethan stepped forward, his face pale but determined. "It's my turn," he said. Lily hesitated. "Ethan, you don't have to do this alone. We're here for you." He offered a weak smile. "I know. But this one's mine." The obelisk flared, and the sound shifted into a haunting melody. A figure emerged, this time a woman with soft features and eyes filled with sorrow. She walked with an almost ghostly grace, her gaze fixed on Ethan. "Ethan," she said, her voice achingly familiar. "You let me go." Ethan's knees nearly buckled, but he steadied himself. "Anna," he whispered. Lily and Harper exchanged uneasy glances. The name was unfamiliar, but the pain in Ethan's voice was unmistakable. "You could have stopped me," Anna said, stepping closer. "You knew what I was going through, but you didn't fight for me." "Why?" Ethan's hands curled into fists. "I thought I was doing the right thing," he said, his voice trembling. "I thought giving you space was what you needed. I didn't realize how much pain you were in." Anna's expression hardened. "And now I'm gone. Do you regret it?" Ethan's shoulders sagged under the weight of the question. "Every day," he admitted. "But regret doesn't bring you back. All I can do is try to be better. To be there for others in a way I wasn't for you." Anna's form shimmered, her eyes softening. "Then do better, Ethan. Live better. That's all I ever wanted for you." As her figure dissolved into light, the final obelisk went dark. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the arena began to shimmer, its walls fading into transparency. The team stood together, battered but unbroken. Kale Kaarn's voice echoed once more, reverberating through the air. You have faced the crucible of regret and emerged intact. Humanity's worth lies not in perfection, but in resilience. You may proceed. The arena dissolved completely, and they found themselves back in the diplomatic chamber. The Zalrith delegation watched them in silence, their multifaceted eyes unreadable. Kale Kaarn stepped forward, his mandibles clicking. You have demonstrated that humanity understands the weight of regret and possesses the strength to carry it. We will consider your request for alliance. Lily nodded, her expression steady despite the exhaustion etched into her features. Thank you, Overseer Kale Kaarn. Humanity values the opportunity to prove itself. As the Zalrith delegation withdrew, Lily turned to her team. We're not done yet, but we made it through the worst. Let's get some rest. We'll face the next challenge together. And with that, they walked out of the chamber, their steps heavy but resolute. The next day brought little reprieve. Captain Lily Marrow and her team gathered in their quarters, the air heavy with unspoken tension. They had survived the Zalrith's crucible of regret, but the Overseer's final words lingered ominously in their minds, you may proceed. No one knew exactly what lay ahead, but they all understood that their ordeal was far from over. Ethan, Lily said, her tone brisk but not unkind. What can we expect from these tests going forward? The cultural linguist tapped furiously on his tablet, scrolling through reams of data. If the Zalrith operate on a consistent philosophy, the next test could escalate in one of two ways, a challenge of unity or one of survival. Both are, historically difficult. Difficult? Harper's voice was sharp, her arms crossed over her chest. You mean fatal? Ethan winced but didn't deny it. They're probing our species, Lieutenant. They want to know if humanity is capable of facing existential challenges together. It's not just about us as individuals, it's about proving that we, as a people, are worth saving. Lily leaned forward, her elbows resting on the table. Then we need to be ready. Whatever's coming, we face it together. No exceptions. Harper nodded reluctantly, and Ethan offered a small, nervous smile. Their resolve was clear, but no amount of preparation could have anticipated what came next. The summons came abruptly. A low, resonant tone reverberated through the human quarters, followed by the now familiar voice of Overseer Kale Kaarn. Humanity, the time has come for your next demonstration. Assemble in the central chamber. The team moved quickly, gathering their gear and steeling themselves for the unknown. The central chamber, once ethereal and grand, had transformed into something far more menacing. The bioluminescent walls now pulsed with an ominous red light, and the floor's reflective surface had been replaced with jagged, uneven terrain. Kale Kaarn stood at the center, flanked by two other Zalrith who radiated an air of authority. The Overseer's multifaceted eyes glimmered as he regarded the humans. You have faced the crucible of regret, he began, his voice echoing throughout the chamber. Now, you will face the crucible of unity. A test of survival that will measure not just your strength, but your ability to act as one. Lily stepped forward, her chin raised. We're ready. Kale Kaarn's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. We shall see. He gestured with one of his many limbs, and the floor beneath them shifted again. The humans tensed as they were plunged into darkness. When the light returned, the team found themselves in a sprawling labyrinth. The walls were made of a strange, shimmering substance that seemed to shift and ripple when viewed out of the corner of the eye. The air was cold and carried a faint, acrid smell. Above them, the ceiling was obscured by a dense, churning mist. What is this place? Harper asked, her voice low. Ethan scanned the environment with his analyzer. The readings are inconsistent. It's like the entire structure is in flux. Definitely artificial, but alive? Alive or not, Lily interjected, we need to find a way out. Everyone stay close and keep your eyes open. No one wanders off. The team began to move, their steps echoing in the eerie silence. The labyrinth seemed to stretch endlessly, with corridors that twisted and turned in impossible directions. Occasionally, they encountered strange symbols etched into the walls, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Ethan tried to decipher them but found no discernible pattern. After what felt like hours, they reached a fork in the path. One corridor glowed faintly with a soft blue light, while the other was shrouded in darkness. "Which way?" Harper asked, her hand hovering near her weapon. Ethan hesitated, studying his tablet. The blue light could indicate a safer route, but... Lily pressed. "It could also be a trap," Ethan admitted. "The Zalrith have a penchant for subverting expectations." Lily weighed their options, her instincts honed by years of command. "We split up. Harper and I will take the dark path. Ethan, you take the blue path with Dr. Moore. Stay in constant communication. If anything goes wrong, regroup immediately." Harper's jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. The team divided, each pair disappearing into their respective corridors. Lily and Harper moved cautiously through the darkened passage, their flashlights cutting through the oppressive blackness. The air grew colder with each step, and an unsettling sense of being watched gnawed at the edges of Lily's awareness. "Captain," Harper whispered, her voice barely audible. "Do you hear that?" Lily paused, straining her ears. At first, there was nothing but silence. Then, faintly, she heard it, a low, guttural growl echoing from somewhere deep within the labyrinth. "Stay sharp," Lily said, her voice firm. "And stay close." The growl grew louder, accompanied by a skittering sound that seemed to come from all directions at once. Lily's pulse quickened as she tightened her grip on her weapon. They rounded a corner, and the flashlight beam illuminated a grotesque, insectoid creature, one that bore an unsettling resemblance to the Zalrith but far more feral. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent red light, and its mandibles clicked menacingly. "Contact!" Harper shouted, raising her weapon. The creature lunged with alarming speed, its claws raking against the walls as it charged. Lily fired, the energy blast striking the creature's torso. It screeched in pain but didn't stop. Harper fired as well, her shots precise and deadly. The creature faltered, collapsing in a heap, but the echoes of its death cry reverberated through the labyrinth. "We need to move," Lily said, her voice tight. That thing wasn't alone. Meanwhile, Ethan and Dr. Moore navigated the blue-lit corridor. Unlike the dark path, this route was eerily quiet, the soft light casting long, distorted shadows. Dr. Moore studied the glowing walls, her expression contemplative. "These symbols," she said, "they're changing. It's like they're reacting to us." Ethan frowned, glancing at his tablet. If that's true, then this labyrinth isn't just a test. It's observing us, adapting to our actions. As they continued, the corridor opened into a vast chamber. At its center was a pedestal holding a glowing orb. The light from the orb bathed the room in a calming blue hue, but there was something unsettling about its stillness. "Do we touch it?" Dr. Moore asked. Ethan hesitated. It could be the key to advancing. Or it could be a trap. Either way, we don't have much choice. He reached out cautiously, his fingers brushing the orb's surface. The moment he made contact, the room shuddered violently. The blue light turned red, and a deep, guttural roar echoed through the chamber. "We need to get out of here," Ethan said urgently, pulling Dr. Moore back toward the corridor. But the way they had come was now sealed, the walls shifting to form an impenetrable barrier. "Captain," Ethan called into his communicator, his voice tinged with panic. "We've got a situation." "So do we," Lily's voice crackled back. "Hold your position. We'll find a way to you." As the labyrinth continued to shift and the roars grew louder, the team realized they were now facing a race against time. The Zalrith's test had become a deadly game, and survival would require every ounce of their strength and ingenuity. The labyrinth continued to shift around them, its walls rearranging with every step as though the structure itself was alive. Captain Lily Marrow led Harper through the twisting corridors, their movements deliberate and calculated. Every roar and skittering sound echoed with unsettling clarity, but they pressed on, knowing time was against them. "Ethan, can you hear me?" Lily called into her communicator, her voice steady despite the growing tension. "Loud and clear," Ethan replied, though his voice was strained. "The path behind us is sealed. We're trapped in a chamber with some sort of orb. Whatever it is, it triggered a defensive response. The walls are shifting faster now." "Stay put," Lily ordered. "We're on our way." She turned to Harper, her expression firm. "Let's move." The two women navigated the treacherous corridors, their flashlights slicing through the gloom. Every corner felt like a potential ambush, but they encountered no more of the feral creatures. Instead, the labyrinth seemed to test their resolve, presenting paths that looped endlessly or ended abruptly in sheer drops. Lily's sharp instincts and Harper's unwavering focus proved invaluable as they worked together to outsmart the shifting maze. Finally, they emerged into a large chamber, its red glow casting eerie shadows on the walls. At the center stood Ethan and Dr. Moore, their backs to the wall as a hulking, insectoid creature circled them. This one was larger than the others, its exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian. Its eyes glowed with an intense, almost sentient light. "Harper, flank it!" Lily barked, raising her weapon. Harper moved without hesitation, circling to the creature's left. The beast hissed, its mandibles clicking in a grotesque rhythm as it lunged toward Ethan. Lily fired, her energy blasts striking the creature's side. It recoiled, momentarily distracted, giving Harper an opening to fire as well. The creature let out a deafening screech, turning its attention to Harper. It charged with terrifying speed, but Lily was faster. She sprinted forward, drawing its focus just long enough for Harper to land a decisive shot to its exposed underbelly. The creature crumpled, its massive form collapsing with a final, echoing roar. "Everyone okay?" Lily asked, her voice sharp with urgency. "We're fine," Ethan said, though he was visibly shaken. Dr. Moore nodded, clutching the orb tightly to her chest. "What's that?" Lily asked, gesturing to the glowing sphere. "It's the key," Dr. Moore replied. "I think it's the only way out of here. But it's reacting to us. The more we move, the more the labyrinth adapts." "Then we'll have to move fast," Lily said. "Stay close. Harper, you take point. Ethan, monitor the orb. Let's find the exit." The team pressed forward, the orb's light casting long shadows on the ever-shifting walls. The labyrinth seemed to sense their determination, throwing new obstacles in their path. Walls rose suddenly, cutting off routes, and the ground beneath them trembled as sections of the floor gave way to deep chasms. Each step felt like a battle against a living, breathing entity. Despite the challenges, the team's unity held firm. Harper's sharp eyes and quick reflexes kept them safe from sudden traps, while Ethan's analytical mind deciphered patterns in the labyrinth's movements. Dr. Moore's focus on the orb never wavered, and Lily's leadership kept them all moving forward. After what felt like an eternity, they reached a massive gateway. The glyphs covering its surface glowed with a pulsating rhythm, matching the light of the orb. "This has to be it," Ethan said, his voice filled with both hope and exhaustion. "What's the protocol?" Harper asked, her weapon still at the ready. Dr. Moore stepped forward, holding the orb toward the gateway. The glyphs began to shimmer, and the ground beneath them vibrated. Slowly, the massive doors began to part, revealing a blinding light beyond. "Go!" Lily commanded, ushering her team through the gateway. The light engulfed them, and for a moment, there was nothing but a sensation of weightlessness. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light faded, and they found themselves back in the central chamber of the Zalrith ship. Kale Karn and his delegates stood before them, their multifaceted eyes reflecting an unreadable expression. "You have passed the crucible of unity," Kale Karn intoned. "You demonstrated strength, adaptability, and, most importantly, cohesion. Humanity has proven itself worthy of consideration." Lily straightened, meeting Kale Karn's gaze. "We appreciate the opportunity to prove ourselves, Overseer. Humanity is stronger together." K.L. Karn's mandibles clicked in what might have been approval. Indeed. Your request for alliance will be taken to the Dominion Council. For now, you may consider yourselves honored guests of the Zalrith. As the Zalrith delegation departed, the team exchanged relieved glances. The ordeal had tested them in ways they couldn't have imagined, but they had emerged stronger for it. We did it, Ethan said, a hint of disbelief in his voice. We did, Lily agreed. But this is just the beginning. We've proven our worth, but now we have to show them what humanity can truly achieve. With renewed determination, the team prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing that their unity would remain their greatest strength.